2, 1. We're live.
All right. Hey, guys. How's it going today?
What up? Okay, so we're a little bit late, but that's what we're rushing into it. So you got no prep for this one.
No. I'm going to wing it.
So we got the winging it. I put my Throwback Thursday thing up there.
Oh,
No, on the Instagram. I don't know if you saw
Oh,
that.
yeah.
From 2007 or 6 or 8 or some kind of nonsense where I had those wings made. And
Okay, I was
like
wondering what that was.
So for people that don't know, I won a boatload of natural contests.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So tons of them, and world championships and non-world championships that were and international, whatever the hell. So that was during that time span.
Yeah.
And so my whole thing was is that I felt really bad for all the spectators that had to sit through 200 bodybuilding or fitness routines.
Yeah.
That was literally hundreds of them. That was probably all pulled from 10 songs.
Yeah.
And they're all static. They're all boring as
mind-numbing.
shit. So my whole deal was like this. You know what? Win, lose, or draw, I'm going to try to entertain some people.
Yeah.
And all of them. So I had like always all these elaborate themes, and I always had like multiple songs and mixed shit together and did all this kind of stuff. I mean, I tried to entertain people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Be as interactive as you can be.
Yeah, exactly.
For what you're doing. And,
okay.
I mean, I think there was only one show I didn't win the best poser or most entertaining award.
Yeah.
In which they just didn't have that award for that show that I had.
Oh,
so
I see.
they all, anyway, it was fun.
I like
and so go check out the Instagram, and it's fun. Yeah.
I gotta check
So
that out now.
we got a variety show today. So I'm gonna deal with my first personal request.
Okay.
For the show. So there's a podcast, Real Talk with Ghost and Big G.
Yeah.
Right? So Ghost is one of the guys that does that, and I think I'm gonna reach out. I think we crossed paths because I used the hashtag Real Talk on all of the things, because Steph and I, as everybody used to know, from 2010 to 13 or 9 to 12, whatever, the three and a half year time span there, we had a show that we called Real Talk Live with us.
Yeah.
And so we were actually broadcasting live almost a decade ago when
Yeah.
cool. We talked about it. So I think that's how our paths crossed in the world of social media. So I've never met him or anything, right? So he had posted this deal on his Instagram, or talked about it on the show, saying how he was going to lose 10 pounds, right?
Okay.
I'm going to say over the summer. I could be wrong with that. I don't remember the time frame because
Yeah.
I get so many messages and stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah, but there was a period of time. So after this first short period of time, he weighed in, and he did not lose the 10 pounds. He gained 7.
Really?
So he
Okay.
was a little upset at this, and
Yeah.
he was mad because he had this little 100-calorie snack. I couldn't see what it was on there anyway. So he was he had tagged me in his post and looking for help, right? Because we're about the same age.
Yeah.
And he's wondering why I look lean and buff, and he doesn't look quite so lean and buff.
Fair. Okay.
Right. I don't know what his motivations are. If he just want to lose a little bit of weight or whatever. I haven't really gone that far with him. But I told him that on the show today we would hit him up
Go
and
into it.
yeah,
Okay.
give him a little bit of help on some snacks and a little
Yeah.
bit of keto stuff and modified keto stuff and things like that, right?
I like it. Let's do it.
You
Okay.
know, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do a plug, and this is not paid for.
Yeah.
Okay? This is absolutely not paid for, so I don't want YouTube to try to hit me on this. But there's a website, and it's been around for a while, but barefootprovisions.com. Okay, it's been around
Barefoot, okay.
Yeah, Barefoot Provisions, all one word, provisions with an S.com. They have a variety of snack packs. Some that are keto, some that are paleo, some that are like all these, all these different things. So super minimal processing, preservatives in them. You're going to get some sodium and such.
Yeah.
But they use real basic.
Normal, yeah.
Yeah, normal.
Sodium, sugars.
Yeah.
And, okay.
Well, no sugars, or extremely low sugars.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So that's kind of deal. So Ghost wants to know about some snacks, healthy snacks, right? So I made a list. I'm going to run through a list, and then we'll talk about it. Does that make sense? Because sometimes the list gets that brain going a little bit, right? So healthy, in quotation, snacks, okay? To predicate this, I want to say that I am a proponent of either the direction of keto, Atkins, modified keto type of diets.
Yeah.
I have been for a long time. That's basically grain-free, sugar-free, grain-free and free of highly processed carbohydrates.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that kind of goes. So things like regular potatoes, sweet potatoes, gourds, all those things are all great and fine. I've had them forever. Occasionally, like last night, I had some rice.
Yeah.
But it's just whole grain rice. I mean, it's nothing special. It's not the highly processed kind of nutty types. You know, does that make sense? Because there's a difference. And then I'll have, occasionally I'll have like oatmeal or, occasionally I'll have these things, but it's not a staple of my diet.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Fine with fruits and vegetables, and that's where a lot of people get real weird with it, is because like, oh, you have a bunch of fruit? I'm like, yeah, a bunch of fruit. I'm like, what the fuck? So fruit, and that's where I get into the modified part. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. I get that. I see it now.
Because the second you throw anything in quotations in front of anything, then the definition gets really broad, man.
Yeah.
So snacks, and these are the realm of my type of snacks, right? Some cook, some not. But I just made notes because I'll forget them. There's a huge variety of jerkies that are out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Turkey jerkies, pork jerkies, beef jerkies, soy jerkies if you're trying to stay, vegan and things like that. The all different kinds of spices and flavors and naturals and super pepper and teriyakis and smoked and not smoked. And I mean, it's just like it goes on and on and on. There's some that are kind of super dry. There's some that are more moist kind of cubed and a little more moist and things like that. Jerky's a huge one, right? I mean, that's just because, especially being men, he's a guy. Usually you want meat, right? Following meat, typically what you want is cheese. Cheese is good. Just get real damn cheese, right? And people, I'm not
don't get
trying
that single stuff that
right. And I'm not gonna hit any brands or anything, but if you go get a block of cheese and it's a 99 cents or $1.99, it's probably not real cheese.
Yeah.
So go.
Yeah, for sure.
At least now you can shop other places, but to get a good idea, go to like a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's or that direction of a store.
Yeah. And
go to their cheese section. And then you're going to start to see the differences in prices, textures, flavors, and all this kind of stuff of cheeses. Because if you have a little 1-inch cube of a real, in quotations, real cheese, as opposed to some of these other ones that are pennies to the dollar.
Not so real, yeah.
It fills you more. It satisfies your palate more. It just takes care of everything a little bit better. So a little jerky, cheeses are great. Hitting down guacamole and avocados in all of its forms.
Oh, yeah.
Mixed with spices and vegetables and stuff or not, whatever. Those are great. Boiled eggs, great.
Yep.
The variety of nuts and nut butters. And we'll get into the difference between peanuts and all the other nuts if we need to in a second. That's a huge one. What a lot of people are doing is making small snacks that they can have later. They can pop later.
Yeah.
So bake a variety of bacon wrapped peppers stuffed with different things.
That sounds really good.
You can stuff them with cheeses. You can stuff them with vegetables. You can stuff them with
whatever you
garlic.
Want.
You can. I had
more peppers.
More pepper. I had this one dude that had minced. So he had the larger jalapenos. Okay, so he extracted all the seeds, so they were a little less potent. Had them wrapped in bacon, and what he had them stuffed with was minced bell peppers, garlic, and I don't remember which olive, but one of the larger Spanish olives.
Yeah.
That were just, I was just like, oh, and a little bit of olive oil was in that mincing, right? Because it made like a little bit of a paste inside. Holy shit, that was good, dude. But all things that aren't going to destroy your diet, right?
Yeah.
And all things that are going to keep you in line with things and go. And where a lot of people make this mistake is we'll start to go into the diet stuff now and get your input on this. Where a lot of people make a mistake is they immediately think as humans we're required to have carbohydrates for energy.
Mm-hmm.
Must have carbs. Carbs equals energy, and that's the end all be all.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, where am I getting my carbs? Where am I getting my energy?
Yeah.
Okay. Scientifically, I'm not going to get everybody into it. You can go. The easiest place is PubMed.
Yeah.
Right. But you could look at any major university study, any global study, anywhere, and you're going to find that that's not the case.
Yeah.
We don't require to have carbohydrates for energy. We need some level of carbohydrates for some other functions of our body.
Yeah.
And for good flora and things like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't equal highly processed carbohydrates. It doesn't equal table sugar.
Yeah,
it
which
doesn't
is
equal
true.
Right.
So getting all your carbs from bread is probably not the right way to go about it.
Idea. And I know some people that are lean and fit and all varieties that will have a large bowl of pasta or they'll have some of these things. Sometimes those are great.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's the staple of your diet, not great.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, there's differences in flours and wheats and things from here as opposed to over in Europe and around the world. So, I don't want to get everybody in a tiffy about it.
Yeah.
This is, I'm speaking in generalities, but so you being in your first half of your 20s.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Fair.
Being fair, I like that word fair. You don't have to work quite as hard as somebody like Ghost and I.
No.
In regards to being as strict on your diet.
Yeah.
You have some benefits by being younger.
Yeah, exactly.
Things of that nature. What are, even in that case, you still have to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going through a little bit of a game before you go through a drop right now.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you go to? Snacks or not full meals, but as far as like, oh, I'm in a hurry or I'm this or I'm that. Like you got a grab and go situation. What do you typically go towards?
So
if you say ho-hos, I'm a kick in the nuts.
I love Oreos. I'm just going to tell you now, Oreos are my favorite thing. And they're vegetarian or vegan, whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah, see?
Just check the ingredients. So I guess when it comes to snacks, I'll do the most common one. So it's not my favorite, but it's the most common one that I have is just a turkey sandwich. So I'll make literally just 7 or 8 turkey sandwiches, and I'll toss them in the fridge. And when I'm on the go, I'll just grab a few
those.
and then.
So when you say turkey, are you getting the ones that are whole turkey, no nitrates? No...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I like get them from the deli opposed to the prepackaged nonsense.
And that doesn't always cure it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so you do have to like pick and choose which ones you want, and have to ask your deli master or whatever you call him, your butcher. You know,
I like
what
deli
it is.
master. Deli master sounds a little better.
I talked to the guy and he was like, "Oh, I prefer this term," and I was like, "Dude, you rock. Let's do it."
Deli master, Jedi master.
Exactly. See,
you know.
I mean, he knows his stuff, so I'll take it. So that's probably the most common, but that's because I'm trying to put on weight, and so I've put on. With that, I've put on almost, I guess, 7 pounds.
Yeah.
And
so you and Ghost are on a race, man. Who's gonna gain the weight?
Yeah. I can guarantee you I'm gonna win.
But that's and then so take the same. You can do the same thing minus the bread.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can take the meat, just have them do thicker cuts, right? You can take that, a slice of cheese or even some shredded cheese, throw a little bit of Gouda or a little bit of feta on there with a couple of olives, roll that up, and I would do that.
That sounds really
I'd
good,
throw a bunch
actually.
of like Louisiana hot sauce on it, dude, because I
get tired of the bread.
Well, and that's kind of my deal. A lot of people are like, fuck, I don't want fucking bread. I don't want bread. Don't give me the bread. Yeah. And so that's an option minus the bread.
Yeah.
You can do all this stuff like wrap it in cabbage and lettuce and all that. Fuck that. That's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm
that's not going to stay crisp and delicious as long
if
as
you're keeping it, like if you're keeping it type situation, man. Fuck,
Yeah, because I have the fridge is just full of like just on the go stuff, and so that and yogurt is another big snack for me. Just because easy, fair source of carbohydrates, and it's the probiotics.
Yeah,
absolutely need, especially when you get to like eating a lot. And then beyond that, I'm very particular about cheese, but that's just because I remember my parents used to love like cheese dishes and stuff like that, and so they were very particular about it when they were.
Oh, so more for just the flavor and.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, health benefits, but like real cheese has always been a big thing for us. And
just because the name cheese is in it doesn't mean it's cheese.
Yeah, exactly. It could
so
be.
If it's Cheese Whiz. I'm just saying.
There could be 1% milk product cheese in it, and then the rest is just a strange combination of chemicals.
The way our FDA works, if they make it next to a gallon of milk, they might label it cheese. A dairy product was in the vicinity while this product was made. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
Or this manufacturer also works on dairy. You're welcome. Wait a second. This isn't
dairy
right.
was in the facility.
Yeah.
Crap, whatever.
I haven't done jerky, but that's something I'm going to probably start doing.
Yeah.
Just because of the obvious, it keeps well and
it keeps it. The only thing you have to be careful with jerky is sugars.
Yeah.
It's because a lot of them, again, and I'm not hating on them. Most of these people that make the jerky are in the business of satisfying palates.
Yeah.
So they drop sugar and stuff in it. Right.
It tastes better, yeah.
But there's so many like meat markets and places that have you can watch the jerky in the stages of being made type situation, And here in Texas, we have a boatload of Buc-ee's. And you can go into Buc-ee's and they've got a at 25 foot.
Yeah.
A 25 foot. Well, not kiosk, but the whatever cabinetry or whatever. That's full of boatloads of varieties.
It's just a complete assortment of jerkies and sandwiches. And
it's insane,
it's my
man.
favorite thing on the planet.
So there's options out there, and every place, every state and stuff has these. And so I'm just kind of here in Texas, it's Buc-ee's.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so just thinking about Buc-ee's now.
Yeah.
And then hard-boiled eggs were another one that I do fairly often. So I'll just make probably 2 dozen and a half cartons of hard-boiled eggs, and then just eat them throughout the however long they last, maybe 2-3 weeks. Probably isn't good for my cholesterol level, but
it's totally fine.
Yeah, we're just gonna make it.
We touched
work,
on
guys.
that before, so I'm gonna take the eggs.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 2 things about the eggs. Everybody, stop throwing your damn yolks out.
Okay, good, because I love them.
Just stop it. And the other thing is if you're gonna get eggs, find a local farmer's market.
Yeah.
Okay, and get some actual true free range eggs.
Yeah.
They taste better. They're better for you. More often than not, in the feed they're giving to the hens, they're putting flax and things like that in there.
Yeah.
So you're getting more omegas. You're getting more things like that. And people are always worried about cost.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to use here, for example. So if I go get 1 dozen true free range eggs from the local farmer's market, it's exactly $4 for a dozen. Okay. If I go to locally, H-E-B, Target, a Kroger, and I get the same equivalently labeled but commercial, they're either from $3.79 up to $4.19.
Yeah.
So you're looking at either saving 19 cents or spending 21 cents more for a full dozen. Now, if you buy more, you wind up getting. They start working you deals at a lot of these farmers markets if you're a big buyer.
Yeah.
So go there and get all the shit you need, man. They got everything you need.
Yeah.
Every vegetable and fruit and gourd, and they have pickled things and jars of stuff. And there's another big one that's like fermented vegetables and things. Mine's kimchi.
Yeah, I love kimchi.
I make shakes with it and shit in the morning. I mean, I love it. But those are so good for your gut flora and your gut bacteria and things like. So and pickles are fine, especially now if you go to a farmer's market and you get them.
Yeah.
It's a different pickling process.
Yeah.
It's I don't know
real
the right
traditional
pickling
process.
It's going to have better qualities for you than the commercial side. And it's not because I'm trying to say commercial side is crap, but they're on a volume and mass quantity deal.
They have to output
a
ridiculous amount.
The attention's different.
Yeah.
And if you're really they have all the things at the farmer's market, so get you a couple jars and make your own.
Yeah, and so that's
whatever vegetable medley you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could spice it up, sweeten it up based on different things you put in there. It's awesome.
So my father was in this like cooking fit, and he gets into these every once in a while. And I guess from his childhood, he remembered pickled eggs.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of pickled eggs, but I get it.
I'm not a big fan anymore because he brought probably 6 dozen cartons of eggs and pickled all of them. And so what you would see in the pantry at the time was just these big giant jars of just pickled eggs. And he ate them all. Because I tried. I ate a few and I was like, okay, this is cool. And I ate some more and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not working for me.
They're fine. I mean, they're not bad. I mean, I've eaten a lot crazier shit in my life. Trust me. Survival school will do that to you too. It's just it's an awkward texture, flavor, kind of just.
It is not my cup of tea.
I've only tried it 3 or 4 times in my life.
Yeah.
From 3 or 4 totally different sources.
Yeah.
And all times they tasted very different. Okay, so I don't know.
Which is true, yeah.
But it was just I just didn't like it.
Mm-mm.
I appreciate it, love it. Everybody that does it,
it's a good thought.
All the power to you. That's just one of those things.
It stays really well. It keeps really well, but
it's not
worth it. Yeah, to me, it's just not worth it,
man. I'm like,
I'm actually not big on very many pickled things. Come to think of it, but so yeah, I mean, I guess like normal pickled things are good. If you can do it, that's good. It doesn't take very long. Better now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it's just prep time to get it all ready and then drop it in the jar and done. Yeah. That's it.
And prep time's kind of an overstatement.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Mix
really
this, mix that.
rinse, slice,
Pour it in the jar,
slice,
drop
pour,
everything in.
put in,
Yeah.
seal, roll. I mean, it's really not that, you know. Yeah. It's not a tremendous deal.
And so if you can stomach it, it'll do really well for you.
Yeah.
And then lots of because. So my aunt is Korean, and so kimchi became a huge part of oh, this is how I get my probiotics.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll scarf it down like a madman.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And one of my best friends is Vietnamese, and she's like, "Oh, I love kimchi. I love kimchi." No, you don't. And I'm sitting there eating it all off the plate, and she's like, "Okay, fine. Yeah, you're right."
Yeah.
But
it's an acquired taste.
It is, but you'll find there's a lot culture to culture. You have a lot of things like that are very, very acquired taste, which is one of the things that I found. I don't like what's the German thing? Sauerkraut.
Yeah, that was weird for me.
Yeah, and I couldn't do it at first, and I was like, I don't know why you guys eat this, and it's delicious.
I was that way until I had some. I'm gonna project. Until I had some true traditional real sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was always kind of a bland or a weird acidy taste, and it was just kind of rushed. It just wasn't right.
Okay.
And then when I actually had the first time, I want to say I was in Chicago, and it was on a dog. I was a kid. I was young, but anyway, and that was the first time I was like, oh, that's sauerkraut.
Yeah.
I was like,
so this is what this tastes like.
And I think it was in the Polish district. But anyway, it was something. I could be wrong a little bit. This was years ago, right? I'm old and shit. My brain doesn't work good. But when I had that the first time, I was like, oh, bing.
Yeah.
And then I understood.
Okay, so I'm going to have to find it then.
Yeah. I'm sure they've got it here. There's a bunch of places.
Yeah. A ton of fucking places. Holy shit. There's too many places to go to here in Houston. Okay. And then nuts, just general trail mix minus the sugars and the chocolates. Every once in a while, I'll get a trail mix with like little dark chocolate bits in it. But aside from that, keep it simple.
If they're really true, kind of bitter dark chocolate bits,
then they're good.
Don't slam me, Hershey's. Hershey's dark chocolate. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's great.
Hershey's sugar with a little bit of cocoa.
Even coconut bits and shredded coconut and stuff in there. It's still great. All that kind of stuff. That type of trail mix, great. Just use the term trail mix, and then that again opens everything up to, oh, there's M&Ms in it, or oh, there.
No.
I'm like, no, I'm not saying all that. No, not saying all that.
Yeah,
but some trail mixes are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to if you go to a farmer's market, they'll have a nice trail mix. You can pick your options. The super healthy, or not so healthy, or just pick up for a little while.
Yeah. So that's the whole idea. And then kind of get in but right before the keto discussion is that if you really put the time and effort in, because it is time and effort in the beginning, to eliminate grains and those highly processed carbohydrates.
Yeah.
After 3 to 10 days, your body's going to adjust and adapt. You're going to feel better.
Yeah.
You're not going to get as hungry. Your cravings are going to become less. You'll start the weight will fluctuate in a positive way.
Yeah.
Sometimes people gain a little bit. Sometimes people lose a little bit. But it's all a positive shift.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Unless you overdo it. If you eat 10,000 calories of cashew nuts, you're going to have problems. Yeah. But
literally anything.
Again, I don't buy into the calories in versus calories out. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
But on some levels it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have been finding that lately.
Yeah.
So I was on that, and I think I told you about that. I was on the verge of overtraining at 4,100 calories. I bumped it up 400 calories. But I think it was what I was eating.
Yeah.
So I kept a very healthy diet at that 4,100. As I bumped it up, it was like, oh, okay, just eat more of the same stuff. And I mean, it feels great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but even then, I was always feeling good. I was like, okay, I can do this. No issues. It was just my body physically couldn't recover in time. Yeah. And so now it's like, it's the same exact thing. It's just, I guess we're working just a little bit harder because we have a little more.
A few hundred calories is huge. People don't understand.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference.
Well, and it's what people say that, okay, I added or took out 300 calories a day. They're like, oh, what is that? Well, it mats out to whatever, 3 pounds a year.
Yeah.
No. There's so many other, if they're appropriate calories, there's so many other things it does to your body and the physiology of your body to increase, depending on what direction you went with those. A gain or a loss, to increase the benefit you're looking for more than just the number of calories.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where people just, because if you're in a deficit, your cortisol levels increase. Everything gets out of whack if you're in a deficit. If you're in a surplus, things get out of whack also. And then people are like, well, how do I figure out that right deal? It's a range. Yeah. It is a range, It's because if 4,000 calories a day is what you need, you're never going to get exactly 4,000, because if nobody can measure that perfectly. Right? I mean, you go and you can't figure out.
You got like a 1 calorie snack that you're sitting there like trying to nibble on.
Right. And people say, oh, well, carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. Well, kinda. It gets a lot more complicated than that. There's a range,
no, yes. I see what you're saying. Yes.
So when you start mathing stuff out, it just stay real close and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And so, but that's the other thing, is because I talk to guys who are like, oh yeah, because I'll say, oh yeah, no, I'm eating 3,500 calories, and another guy, oh, I'm doing the same thing, but why aren't I growing as fast? Well, what are you eating? I love McDonald's.
Oh, shit. See, that's what I.
Go home. You don't need to be here.
I'm like, get that. You can't do that, man. Come on.
Yeah, and it's like, and these same guys I talk to, and it's like talking about, oh, I want to compete and all that. I'm like, no, because I see you go to Raising Cane's every other day.
And I'll say, I mean,
delicious.
Raising Cane's is good. But these people want to compete, and I'm like, before you can compete with yourself, to stop going to fucking fast food joints for a little while.
Yeah, exactly.
What good is a fast food place other than a restroom stop on travel and water?
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know, and I've gone in a pinch and been like, I've snuck out some forks and napkins before out of some fast food places because I was in a little bind. So they're good for that too.
Yeah.
But like as a whole, I'm like, why? The burgers suck. It's not all the meat you want. It's all so fuck it. It's nasty.
And that was I had this conversation with somebody about cheat meals. I don't know if it was you or
I don't think it was me.
Guys talk about, oh, I had a cheat meal. I went to In-N-Out or Five Guys or something like that. And I was like, dude, what do you want a good cheat meal? You want like a good burger. If you're gonna have if you're gonna waste those calories, or if you're gonna eat something you're not supposed to, at least eat something good.
Yes. Like
get a steak or get Hot Dotties. Or
hey, I'm cool with. Hey, I'll have a hamburger too sometimes.
Yeah,
we'll go
exactly.
over to Red Oak.
Yeah.
And they have their burgers they're hand packed patties.
Yeah.
I'll get the Texas burger is what they call it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's two 6 or 8 ounce hand packed patties. Right, so you're getting either 12 or 16 ounces, and I get mixed up because I go so many places about these damn burgers. And then all your trimmings, your lettuce, tomatoes, and stuff like that, and onions and all that. And then they put a layer of jalapenos and then several slivers of avocado on that thing. And I like mustard on it with some Louisiana hot sauce. So all that doused on, you smash that and But I mean, they pack the burger, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a seasoned hand-packed burger. What do you do with that? That's a burger.
That's a burger. Yeah, not this little artificial paste.
Oh,
stuck in a deep fryer or whatever they do with it.
Can't do that shit.
But that's the big thing. And for me, it's my go-to is this place called Hot Dotties. And always the ahi tuna burger. Mm-hmm. So it's a seared piece of sushi grade ahi tuna, and then it's like a
flash sear.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's nice.
And then done. And then they've got seaweed wasabi chips on it, and they've got ginger with it, so it tastes it's like a sushi burger.
You get a kick.
And my god.
Okay, so what do they use bread, or do they use
what?
Do they use bread? Or
yeah.
The wasabi chip is the
they have bread and the wasabi chips are on top, and they used to do it with actual wasabi paste.
Yeah, they're getting away from that. Everybody's getting
away from that. Man, it was so good.
It's a sad story. There's some stuff on TV and Netflix and YouTube about it. I will get in. That's a whole nother story. It's the wasabi industry is suffering, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine so. It's hard to find actual wasabi.
Yeah, and you're getting fake wasabi now in a lot of places.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. See? You bring up the sad shit.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry.
But so I'll get in. So, a lot of people are like, oh, keto. What's keto, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Generally, in a brushstroke reason, a lot of the this is a broad brush. Okay, I don't want people to kill me on that incident. I've been getting a lot of messages of the last 4, 5, 6 days about people destroying me on particulars. So this is a broad statement.
So I noticed.
Damn it. Yeah. So so one of the primary reasons keto is around is it is generally thought of as an anti-inflammatory diet.
Yeah.
So people with cancers and arthritis and various other conditions often will go to a keto diet. Yeah. Well, yeah, and CTE even and TBI and all.
Yeah.
They'll go to a keto diet because it reduces inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
Why does it reduce inflammation in the body? Most likely because we think as humans, there's this little thing called either evolution or adaptation or some combination of the two. I don't want to step on everybody's religious beliefs onto this, but and it takes X number of tens of thousands of years to have a true adaptation. Okay?
Yeah.
Meaning that we weren't really designed to have a lot of grains and grain-based carbohydrates. It's just a theory. Okay.
Yeah.
And that by eating those, we are getting nutrition and we are sustaining life, but we're not really adapted for that. So we get inflammation. As simple as that, right?
Yeah.
And we know certain diseases and conditions in the body will feed off of a more carbohydrate or glucose-based diet.
Oh, okay.
So when you convert that and you take your total carbohydrates down to pretty much vegetable only, which is what would be rummaged around type situation.
Yeah, exactly. Just naturally occurring.
Right.
Yeah.
Then, and you keep your proteins in a correct range and you increase your fats, and they're all good fats. Fats from the protein sources or fats from naturally grown. They're not processed fats of today's time.
Yeah, exactly. Not all these crazy oils and whatever.
We get reduced inflammation. Well, a funny thing happens is when generally the tissue of your body reduces inflammation, part of that tissue is your intestinal tract, your stomach lining, right? Your vascular system, your all these things.
Yeah.
So you're absorbing nutrients better. You at least have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
Your blood's flowing better, which when your blood flows better, you process oxygen better, right? And our body is basically, to make it as simple as possible, the more efficient you are at utilizing the oxygen you breathe in combination with how your body utilizes and restores its ATP is typically going to lead to what quality of life you have.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, speaking in generalities, it gets way more complicated than that, but generally speaking, makes sense, right? So the keto diet traditionally is, you'll see 3-1-4-1 and all these ratios and stuff like that. The first number is fat to, the first two numbers, it's always fat to protein. Okay. So a ratio of four fats to 1 protein.
Okay.
Grams.
Okay, yeah.
So I was getting all that. A lot of times, that's tough. And a couple weeks in, a lot of people experience what's called the keto flu, where you actually feel like you have the flu. You have flu-like symptoms because your body's going through this major adaptation, right?
Yeah, okay.
And now not everybody experiences it, and some people will say you have to experience the keto flu to really have that real transition. Okay, so I've gone full keto before. I've never gotten the keto flu. And I've done the strips and I've done all the things.
Yeah.
Done the full measure of everything. I never experienced it. Now, it doesn't mean if I go back to full keto again, I wouldn't experience it, because I know people that float in and out, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't.
Because it could just occur depending on what you were doing previously.
Yeah, and I haven't dug myself deep enough to try to figure out what causes the keto flu and what doesn't. So I can't really help with that. But a lot of times people who do the keto diet or a modified keto diet, their brain functions better, they sleep better, they recover better, they don't get as sick. It sounds
like it's something I should work on.
Well, and again, it's not necessarily for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we're learning with what are the needs of people's diets are, again, blanket statements, regionally based. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
What is your lineage, your real lineage? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where are you from? What's the last few thousand years of dietary history of your bloodline? Minus the last 100 years. Okay,
Yeah,
because the last
naturally,
100 years
yeah,
is crazy because so much has changed in the last. You know, I mean, like,
Yeah.
and again,
Stuff's got a little wild.
it's got a little fucking wild. That's a way to put it.
Gotta
So
love
when you see
corporate
that,
America.
yeah. So that's the keto diet. Percentage wise, just so I didn't script the numbers, 60 to 75% of the diet would be fat.
Okay.
15 to 30% would be your protein,
Whoa.
and then the other 5 to 10% would be carbohydrate. So it's a very, very small carbohydrate
Yeah.
based diet.
And all those carbohydrates are fruits and vegetables.
Mostly vegetable based. Yeah, mostly vegetable based.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
new to me.
I like, for me, and a lot of the people I deal with, especially on an athletic level, what they typically deem as the modified, in quotations, keto diet. So traditionally, instead of having 60 to 75% of your fats, what you can do is you're going to drop that down to 50, 55% is going to be fats.
Okay.
Then instead of having that lower range of 15-ish up to 30% of your diet being from protein, you're going to push that up to more 35, maybe even 40%.
Oh, okay.
And your carbohydrates are going to stay basically the
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
Basically the same. And where those variances are in the first two, maybe your carbohydrates jump just a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, that's going to be more on a need basis. Because, like, I know if I'm going to go do whatever, a heavy leg day or some massively cardio-intensive deal, I'll probably bump my carbohydrates up a little more, or sip on something that has a little more of a glucose-based deal during the training. You know, something along those lines.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, so that's totally different to me.
Well, I know. That's why I wanted
so
to do this,
strange.
because I was like, well, because he did, Ghost tagged me on the thing. I was like, we haven't really, and again, we're not diving into the massive science of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't want to lose people and start doing a lecture and all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to reference the numbers, but not dive into the numbers and things of that nature. And then you being in the first half of your 20s, you're not necessarily going to be exposed to this right now.
Yeah. I just consume everything and hope for the best.
Would you? Dude, I did that. I did and had the ability to do that, into my 40s.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Oh, good. I'm good to go.
That's what I'm saying. Just stay on top of it, and you're all right, man.
Yeah. Okay. That's.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a guy at the gym, great guy, who has it flipped, and he's telling me 50% protein. I thought that was just completely unreal. I was like, there's no way I can consume 50% protein.
Not on a 4,000 calorie diet.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure he has a lower calorie count. And then the other part was then it was the fats, and then it was keeping it like 5-10.
That's a tradition. Don't care. I don't know who this person is.
Yeah. Okay,
so I'm gonna just give the deal. That is a traditional, false guru, old school, uneducated way to approach bodybuilding dieting.
Cool.
Just saying, and I'm not trying to slam the person, because a lot of people, especially if you start dropping in hormones and steroids on top of shit, you get away with murder with your diet that you wouldn't get away with otherwise.
Which is true.
I'm just saying, So generally speaking, you could do it this way. What I always do is always had everybody back in their diet and say, okay, your lean mass at 5 or 10% is X. You're at the absolute most you're ever going to be able to deal with protein is 2 times that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In grams to pounds, right? So if you weigh 200 pounds, times 2, that's 400 grams of protein. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous, dude. I mean, that's getting just simply way the out of hand.
Yeah.
Right. Most places will say 1.2 to 1.5 is the super high end.
Yeah.
And then even then is I look at some of the scientific data on that, and man, if you drop somebody on steroids, they're in these studies, so they're screwing up the averages.
Yeah.
So if you take somebody who's natural,
which is true,
I'm thinking maybe 1.2, 1.3 is really the high end threshold.
Yeah.
Before you start putting awkward additional stresses onto your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Because you're gonna really start to injure certain organs if you start eating too much of that.
If you weigh 200, if you're at that mark at 200 pounds, you just stay under 300 grams of protein a day.
Yeah.
200 pounds, and you're good. Okay, well, if you hit 300, that's only about 1,200 calories. And you're on a 4,000 calorie diet.
Yeah.
But that's supposed to be 50% of your diet, which then you say, wait, that's 2,400, not 4,000. Where are you getting it doesn't add up, man.
Yeah, no.
Does that make sense?
Well, that was the whole thing. Is when he said it, I was like, hey, these numbers are strange.
Yeah.
And so I was on my little app and I was trying to like throw it all in. I was like, no. There's no way I'm doing that.
And that's, the older people will love this, but that's what we called during right before the first President Bush or W before his first term was fuzzy math, in quotations.
Fuzzy math.
Because in the debates and stuff, they were throwing numbers back and forth on these things.
Yeah.
And Al Gore was something about, it hit him somehow. And I wish I had the quote. I'll have to look it up because I remember it. But it was something about, getting on Bush for fuzzy math.
Oh.
And so fuzzy math was kind of the thing, and it was hilarious. But
I like that.
That's what that is.
It's
kind of like, wait, math works forward and backwards.
Exactly. Yeah. Get a third party in here to figure this out for us, please.
Yeah, so it's kind of so anytime you're dealing with somebody with an athlete and looking for growth and looking for all these things, start with the protein. Yeah. Because an excess of protein, everything's debatable in the world, but an excess of protein really doesn't have much of a benefit.
No, I agree.
Right. And especially a heavy excess of protein really doesn't have that much of a benefit.
Yeah.
You can get a benefit, again, arguably and debatable, all these things, from excess fat and excess carbohydrates. Yeah. But you're looking at more negatives than positives with a heavy excess of protein.
Yeah. And that's been my understanding. So like excess amount of protein is just going to strain your organs more.
Kind of. We have to be careful because I don't want the hate. It can do some things to your body to create more stresses than positives at that level. Yeah.
But then as for the excess carbohydrates, for me it's just like my sugar levels just do this whole number all day long, and so I have these really big highs. And
and that's why I'm kind of like with people. I'm like, just because you get around a heavy training session, a heavy cardio session, you know, triathletes and runners and all this other kind of stuff. There is no way to tell someone just at a base level, here's what you need. Yeah. On carbohydrates.
No,
and fats.
Absolutely.
Their requirements, my requirements change 15-20% day to day. Yeah. Based on what my activity levels are, my recovery, and forth, what I'm recovering from a day or 2 days before and dealing with today, and lack of sleep, and anyway, all that kind of nonsense. But the reason I wanted to bring some of these up is because a lot of people ask. I want to try to hit it in a simple way. Mm-hmm. Simple. I mean, none of it's super simple, but a relatively simple way. Yeah. That's kind of it, man. So I love it. Back to it is I love the modified keto. I love it. Some people call it modified Atkins. Some people, because they're so similar. In nature. They really are. I just don't want to. I'm trying to be careful so I don't draw the hate. Because again, I don't want to get into an educational lecture on it. Yeah. Does that make sense? But so to kind of go back is that generally people that work out on a regular basis and do this stuff, start with your protein. Yeah. Take your lean mass plus 5 or 10%. Yeah. Right. Because you're going to have some fat. You want to have some fat. You want to have these things, right? Most men, I say, I don't want them under 10% body fat for very long. Most men, it's detrimental to their hormones and recovery and so many other systems in their body. So take your lean mass plus 10%. That's your number. That's your magic number to work from, right? Yeah. If you're trying to get a little more specific, take that number times anywhere from 1 to 1.3. There's your protein, right? Now subtract that out of your total calories needed of the day. Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of, you have to Google that because there's a ton of different calculators to figure out what you need per day. And they're all pretty close. Yeah. If you're honest about what you put in, exactly, you're going to get a pretty close number. So then you subtract that out. And if you're going keto, most of that excess number is going to be fats. Yeah. Yeah. So then you can modify accordingly. Yeah. And most athletes that I deal with, when I'm like, okay, well, your protein is going to be, 200 grams a day. And then what we're going to do is your fats are going to be about 185 grams a day. And that's to get them adjusted. Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're like, well, what? I'm trying to go fat free. Yeah. And that's why you're sitting here with me today. Yeah, it's like that type of situation. It's like, there we go.
Yeah, so that's a no.
Yeah, and I'm just using the numbers as a deal. And usually when I have people that are in that I know aren't ready to hear that, I don't start them where they need to be. Yeah. I back off and I start them earlier. or at a lower
Yeah,
number,
yeah,
so they
yeah,
can adapt
naturally.
into it. So
They
they
can
don't
kind of
just
figure it out and say, oh, okay, this makes sense now.
yeah. I don't want them to freak out, throw their finger, and leave, and be like, that dude's a lunatic.
Yeah.
Which I'm cool with the lunatic name. I just want him to get better.
Exactly. You're damn right, but let's go.
Right. See, now you're gonna have to start adjusting away from those turkey sandwiches, man.
I think I'll just have less of them. Yeah. So this is the whole bit is I just now got to 10.5% body fat. I checked today.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about is somewhere I read once you get your BMI past a certain level, it's an increased chance of I think it was heart problems or organ problems, something.
Right. So the first error in that is using anything associated with the acronym of BMI.
Okay.
Because I am morbidly obese on the
Good,
BMI
me
index.
too.
No, I mean seriously. I mean like I'm in it, so it's life insurance and all this other kind of stuff. I've got to do the extra test and try to get waivers and all these things because
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Based on that number, I'm morbidly obese. I'm beyond super high risk.
You gotta take care of yourself, man.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm like 215, 220, and I've got a 29-inch waist.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys.
And I'm only 5'8.5", 5'8", whatever.
Yeah.
Right in around there. So I'm like, no, I'm not morbidly obese. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those.
You're full of shit, guys.
Get out of here. So that's step one is don't ever just fucking BMI. Don't ever pay any attention to that. It's silly.
Okay.
It's a massively antiquated system.
Okay, perfect. That's what I
wanted
to hear.
It works okay for that middle small percentile of the population. Yeah. Because that's what it was designed for.
Gotcha. Okay, so just average.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The center part of average, not even when you start to get on the fringes of just average.
So you've got this whole bell and like these guys out here are completely excluded.
Right. And the fact that you go to the gym on a regular basis, forget what you do there. The fact that you go on a regular basis puts you in the top 10% of the population.
Okay.
Just attendance to the gym. You see what I'm saying? And we get screwed up in the brain because we're at the gym all the time.
Yeah.
So we think it's normal.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I was about to say.
It's not normal.
That was something I wanted to bring up too, was the fact that it's like, dude, you go every day? Yeah. When I don't go, I feel weird.
Well, do it this way. There's not 100 full gyms, right?
Yeah.
Let's say there's 100 gyms in the Houston and surrounding area.
Yeah.
Right?
And they're at like 45 max capacity.
You see, and if they're all at max capacity, that gives a population of those gyms of about 250,000.
Yeah.
Let's round it up to 500,000.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay? Houston and surrounding areas population is what?
Way huge.
Like between 5 and 6 million?
Yeah.
That's 10% of a major city that gives a shit about fitness.
Which is true. I didn't even think of that. Okay.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
And there's not really 100 massive scale gyms. There's a lot of teeny tiny ones here and there, and that's why I'm giving you this round.
And all that.
Yeah. So when you start looking at the numbers and back them up like that, and then you've got some pretty big cities where there's like 1 or 2 gyms in the country.
Yeah.
Because it's just not on the radar of what they give a crap about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying there's not joggers and cyclers and people who hike mountains and do the whole. I'm not saying that. That's a really small part of the population.
Yeah. And ever still, because even if you go up into the mountains, you're still gonna have those cities where it's like people just hanging out.
They just chilling, man.
Nobody's, they're not cycling or jogging, and those guys are still the smaller percentage. Okay, so one of the things that I needed to know about is blood work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've put on, I guess, 62 pounds now. And
since the beginning,
Since the beginning, So since however many years ago. And is it necessary for me to get blood work done?
Short answer, yes. I like people to get their blood work done once or twice a year.
Perfect.
It's just a good. Now, get into the whole thing about blood work, and people get on my ass about this, but the science community is coming around. This is how I wrote papers on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think my second year in the military, I wrote something for the military newspaper for this. So this is decades ago.
Okay.
Blood work is only as good as that sampling time in which you took the blood work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you fasted last night and took blood work this morning at 7 or 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Right, took blood for your panels and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're getting a really good, accurate snapshot of you.
Fasting last night. Yeah.
Maybe 15, 20 hours before that, maybe 2 days. Let's just call it a week to give it the whole deal. Okay. Again, this analogy is used for a bunch of different things, but that's like opening your front door and telling me what the weather is in Alaska.
Yeah.
From here in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So like the big picture of it is that it's debatable how accurate that stuff is. Okay. Because if on Monday, day one, you ate a double cheeseburger before you went to bed, fasted, woke up and did blood work, right?
Yeah.
You went about your day, and that day you went and you ran a marathon.
Yeah.
Then before you go to bed that night, you have a huge salad with some seared salmon.
Yeah.
Fast throughout the night, do your blood work in the morning.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Tell me those are going to be the same.
Completely different. Yeah.
Tell me those are going to be the same. There's a 24-hour difference.
That's fair.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they're really good snapshots.
Yeah.
But what you can do is create patterns.
Yeah.
You can start to create fall into the laws of averages. And you can say, okay, well, this thing was off here, but it's been great these other 37 tests.
Yeah.
Okay, well, something weird was going on then, obviously. So now you know. Where people get into trouble is they go, hormones is a big one, so I'll use that.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to get cholesterol because they piss me off talking about cholesterol. But they'll say, oh, I'm 40 years old. I go and they get their testosterone checked.
Yeah.
Oh, I have low T.
Yeah, for that one test.
Do you?
Yeah.
What'd you do the last 72 hours?
Yeah.
What's your diet like? What's your training like? What's your health like?
Okay.
What was your testosterone a month ago? I don't know. What was it a year ago? I don't know. What was it when you were 20, 18, 25, 30, 35? Meh.
Okay, fair.
And so how are you telling me that it's low?
So maybe it's just average for you.
There's not a universal marker.
Yeah.
Right? Every male, say that shit. Every male, right? Biological male isn't set to have 800 testosterone.
That's gender insensitive.
Right, I know it is. Right, you know what I'm saying? So it's
yeah.
Look, that's why there's ranges.
Yeah.
What's normal? You start to see this huge range, and you go from lab to lab to lab, and that range is even different between lab to lab to lab.
Really?
Yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. So that's where the annual or semi-annual blood tests are beneficial, is because now you have a history, now you have some markers, you can start to see trends, you fall into the laws of averages, you can start to piece together a puzzle.
Yeah.
As opposed to coming into it, I don't know. The fuck?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So
I'm going to get that done.
And I'm going to say this for me, is by accident, when I was younger, I was exposed to some things in the in the military, right? So they do various checks and things like that. So I had my first prostate exam when I was very young.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, I have a large prostate.
Exciting. Okay.
There's nothing wrong. All the blood levels are fine. There's no risk of cancer. There's no anything else. My prostate's just a little bigger than average.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Guess what would happen if I didn't have that then and went in my 40s or 50 years old and got a prostate exam?
It's cancer.
They'd have a fucking heart attack, and I'd be going through ass loads of tests and all this other kind of, like, wasting money.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to use different examples, not really, for you, but also for people listening and watching and such,
So you have to understand the average. So don't take
don't freak out over
one or two tests and say, no, this is all wrong.
Exactly.
You have to take, okay.
Yeah. And
that I like.
And that's kind of the idea of it. And so many people will freak out on that. Like,
Wow.
Your training habits are different. Your sleep habits are different. Or, and it's just, and then the other thing with blood tests that gets to me a little bit is that you put yourself in an uncommon state to try to get a common or standardized test.
Yeah.
You're not in a standard or common state, but you're trying to get a common or standard test.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
See what I'm saying?
So it should be like you should just keep that consistency throughout and not have to I have blood work in 2 weeks and try to adjust.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay, good, because I didn't want to change my lifestyle
anyways. a week from today, I've got a blood work, so I'm going to exercise more and eat this and do this, and then look, my blood work's fine, and you go celebrate with, 6 beers and a couple pizzas and all.
Exactly.
And you're
a few
like,
shots.
no, you see what I'm saying?
Wait, guys, this is right.
And that's where it's just like, mother shit. Just please, just do this the right way.
Yeah. Okay. So that I can do because I don't really change my.
Yeah.
I live a very simple life.
And most of the time, I don't fast.
Yeah. No. God no.
I go in and like, did you fast? Yes. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Fucking fast. And they're like, wow, all your stuff is great. My cortisol levels are always through the roof because I don't ever sleep. Yeah. Some other issues. But so the barrage of stress hormones and stress factors are always through the roof.
Yeah.
But everything else is great. There was literally, there's times that I would have. There was actually one I had a blood test. It was like 4:35 in the afternoon, and early lunch, 10:30, 11. I had one of the double cheeseburger and did all that kind of stuff. Did you fast? Yes. After everything, I was great. Everything's great. Looks great. Your stress hormones are a little high.
Yeah.
Everything else is wonderful.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Pull out another double cheeseburger.
Right. You know,
eat it right in front of them.
It's just,
what are you doing?
There's, people are people, man. There's just some standardization that maybe is not really a standardization.
Okay. Yeah, because I'll tell them now I'm not going to fast.
But that's just one of those things. It's just kind of like, what? And, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, that's good information then.
Yeah. And fasting. Let's hit that real quick because everybody's always asking on fasting. Super simple, super easy.
Okay.
We'll get into benefits stuff later. I'm going to keep it real simple in the beginning.
Yeah.
There are some very good scientifically proven benefits to fasting. Some people call it intermittent fasting. Some people just call it fasting. Some people, whatever. I don't care what you call it. There's benefits to it.
Okay.
So typically for people, regular adults, the benefit starts between 12 and 14 hours is when you get that benefit. Okay.
Okay.
Right. A lot of people will push that to 16 to 18 hours. Right.
Holy cow.
And sometimes there's more benefit, sometimes there's less. Now, that does not, I have to stress this, does not mean caloric deficiency. It does not mean you're reducing your total calories.
Yeah. Okay.
You're just taking the window. So if you eat 2,000 calories a day, you're not eating those 2,000 calories a day from 7 in the morning until 10 at night.
Yeah.
You're going to eat them from 10 in the morning until 6 at night.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that's typically how it goes. You're still eating the same number of calories, just in a smaller window.
Okay.
And then a lot of people are like, well, what breaks a fast? Typically the rule is this: under 50 calories one time during the fast, and you're not breaking the fast. For example, if you start your fast at night before you have your last meal, you're up for a little while, you go to bed, and that's when you started your fast. One time.
Okay.
You get up in the morning, and maybe you're like me and massively addicted to caffeine.
Yeah.
You can have your coffee with a little hit of cream in it, or black, or whatever. I usually drop cinnamon in mine, but and you have that, you're fine. You're not breaking a fast.
Yeah.
It's less than 5 calories.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm fine, and typically people say that will not break your fast. There's various ways to check that, but yeah.
Okay, so if I fast from like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m.
You need to go like 9 to 11.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm not fasting.
Well, and there's benefits, because a lot of times people are like, what? You just think it like this. Just one simple fact without getting scientific. It gives your body a break.
Yeah.
You're hitting it. You're killing it with all of these calories and all this crazy shit all day long. So a couple times a week, you do a little fast like that. It gives your body a little break.
Oh, so it doesn't have to be an everyday thing.
Oh, no. It can. It doesn't have to be. No.
God.
A lot of people will do it every other day and every third day.
Yeah.
Random. It's just not. Yeah. Now, can you fast longer, and can you do multi-day fast, and can you do? Yes, you can do all those things, and there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
To everything going over that. I'll just call it an 18-hour period.
Yeah.
For story purposes, so there's pros and cons to going above that.
Okay.
And that gets, I don't want to get into that debate, because you start getting into the cultish and tribalistic kind of bullshit on that side. I don't want that kind of hate right now. But there's benefits to that.
Okay. All right. Then I guess I'm gonna have to experiment with that.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's kind of it's tough, but not.
Yeah.
You know, the first couple times you do it, you just want to eat something.
Yeah.
And I think it's just being a little bitch because you just want to eat something.
You're so right.
You know, so like,
because
I'm not going to tell myself I
now.
can't eat something. Yeah, like, no, I'm not going to tell myself. I'm the boss of me. I can't tell. Well, all right, whatever, dude. So you get it. Go throw your little tantrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Go kick and scream in the living room a little bit.
Go
And
have
you're
50 calories and then get back to it.
Yeah, you'll be fine, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay, well, that's up next then. I have to figure out a way to put that in there.
Yeah, and again, you know, just set it, try it one day, see what happens.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Because I guess that's true. So like in the beginning, I physically couldn't eat anymore.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I got to take a break from this. And I just stopped eating. And I guess when I got to like a really low body fat percentage, I couldn't do that. Because I got down to 3.2%. And like at that point, I was like fading out. And, like, it was all
your brain's not going to work right. Your hormones are screwed up. Everything.
Crazy stuff. And so everything was out of whack. And, you know, if I didn't eat within like 4-hour frames, I was like, I'm going down.
That's a big one, especially in bodybuilding. They're like, every 2 to 3 hours eat, every 2 hours eat. Yeah. And I'm like, the main reason that came around is because they're trying to shove so many calories in their system.
Yeah.
They've got to have these small increments of calories all the time.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of there's only so much space in your stomach.
Yeah.
And maximizing that space in your stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where that came. That's where that came from, just to keep that as easy as possible. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, people, man. You know.
To be fair, I practice that.
Well,
I'll have one great big meal in the morning so I can go train, and then after that, I'm just snacking throughout the day, and it's so good.
Yeah. And man, I gotta hit all this, dude. This is absolutely cuckoo nuts, man.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna call this political, but it's not really political.
Okay.
Right. It's more of just what we typically call as tribal stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna, because I intentionally, I sent one of the pieces of hate to you, and and I actually have it on my list. So everybody listening, and even for you, I'm gonna do that. Read the mean tweets.
Oh yeah.
Read the mean tweets type of deal, right?
Yeah.
Mine's gonna be all direct messages for the most part.
Yeah.
Because that's where people usually hit me. It's just I shared that one the other morning. I get some that are like that in the public forums.
Yeah.
Most of the time they DM me. I turned the DM feature off on that platform, which forces a little more hate to go public.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay, good. So you can get more people watching it now.
So it's just it's one of those measures, you know what I'm saying? So it's the deal. Give me your perspective, because you being in the first half of your 20s, and me being well past my first half of my 20s, we have different experiences, different stuff. And you're not the average, early 20s-year-old.
Yeah.
So, you're not. Why do you think it's so difficult for the extreme of either side of this, right? And this being this test of what we call the United States of America, the extreme of either side to accept data and facts. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And the inability to accept that. Because I understand if your guy or your girl or your team doesn't win, that you get a little knot in your stomach.
Yeah, worked
right?
up. Yeah,
I get that. I mean, that's sports and team, and you always want whoever you get behind and promote and post about and do that stuff. You have a vested interest in them.
Yeah.
And them could be a party, could be a team, could be a person, could be your buddy down the street that's on the softball league, whatever. I'm just saying, whatever you promote and you put, you've got a vested interest in. So if they lose, or they are not victorious, you feel a little sad. Longhorns got beat out in the College World Series. I'm like, damn, I really would have loved to see him go further.
Yeah.
So I have that temporary time of, damn, they lost. I'm a little upset for, I don't know, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it's a horrible thing. It's just, it's like, I'm a little upset they lost, But I enjoy the process, and I enjoy what they went through, and I enjoy watching them win the way they won this year and do what they did. and so I'm staying on sports because you say any of the terms of political stuff, people lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
But why do you think it's so like this? In the left-right game,
Yeah.
if I made a statement that Texas Longhorns won the Big 12, made it to the College World Series, and then didn't win one game in the College World Series. Factual.
Yeah.
They won the Big 12. They made it to the College World Series, and they were knocked out of the College World Series without one win.
Yeah.
Factual. The extreme opposing side to that would be bent out of shape and say hateful things back because you make a statement like that. What is that? What does that come from?
So I guess to that bit, it would be something along the lines of you're bringing up some sort of negativity, right? So something that because if you emotionally invest in like a team or a group or a person, you feel like you're a part of that, right?
Right.
And that's
which great.
And
I
that's
get
the
that.
whole fun part of sports and politics. It's like you can be a part of something rather than just yourself.
Right.
But anything that with that, I guess, also comes this like irrational emotional investment in which any attack on that person or any slander of whatever that team or party is a personal slander or personal attack, right?
Yeah, but it's like this. I'm going to use the sports.
Okay.
So I like that one. Oh, well, you just hate them because it was cheated. They got cheated out of it because the refs called it wrong or they did this or, the rules were, does that make sense?
Yeah,
like
that's just somebody trying to justify their team's loss.
So,
but people have to do that. People have to find a way to justify what's,
and I'm like,
what happens.
Maybe they just weren't the best team that day.
And that's what it comes down to is because what was it in rugby, Scotland lost to the US was this Saturday.
Last weekend or week I saw it.
Yeah, last weekend. Yeah, I was there watching and I was like so excited and I had and I was like, oh, okay, good. And then we missed a kick or something like that. I'm like, it was a game well played. And that was it. It was written off.
Right.
There was this guy right in front of me, so invested in the game, like pro America 100%, yelling at the players as they were on our side because we were sitting next to the field end, and incredible, like. And I had to sit there and wonder, and I was sitting next to an English guy, and we were just going on and on about it. And he was like, "Oh, I'm more for the Roses." I was like, "I don't care what you're for.
Yeah, you're like, right.
You're not even no one's playing in your game, so right now, so you can go home." But after the game, and he was amped the whole time, yelling at the Scots and yelling at, cheering on his team. After the game, he's up there dancing like behind me now, and I turn around and I said, "It was a really good game, and you guys played really well." And I was like, "Oh, dude, this is like our first win in against these guys in a while." And I was like, I was just so happy to be able to get this and like be here for this. And I was like, so you do become emotionally invested, and that emotional investment does become something irrational because you'll find, this is a lot of the emotions that we experience are extremely irrational.
Yeah.
Just naturally, right? And so, but I think for what people haven't learned yet is there is that delightfully fine line between being emotionally invested but staying to an extent reserved on like how you react.
Yeah,
because there is a manner, there is an etiquette to how you should react. You know, so if your team wins, you don't go, I win, you lose. That's completely irrational.
You be excited for your team doing well enough to win that day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because that's the
jumping
thing.
and yelling and streamers and
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But when you move on to like you're putting down the other team or when you're like insulting somebody else, and then that's when it gets out of hand. Because I thought this gentleman in front of me, this is a guy cheering for the States. I could have sworn he was gonna swing around and start yelling at me and
be a dirty winner or a poor winner.
like a unfair. And he was so delightful. He ran up and hugged two of the guys cheering on the Scots in front of him, and he was just so happy. And but then on to the other end, you have to be able to also accept loss.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't. And a lot of people now don't know how to handle I guess properly accepting a loss, because and I guess it's fair because you get really emotionally invested in the things, and as there are some things that you should, like if you're working with your livelihood or your career or like your sport in which you're participating with, you should become emotionally invested to almost an irrational point.
Yes. I get that.
Right?
Because
I mean, it's the same thing in weightlifting, right? Because if I don't make a lift, like, I'm livid.
Right, but it's kind of, again, using sports and athletic for this. I was always taught, and it was always literally pounded into my head. You either win or you learn.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
You don't lose. If you were to lose, you wouldn't have shown up. You wouldn't have tried hard. You wouldn't have. Those are things that are markers of losing.
Yeah.
Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you're not giving it your 100%,
right,
then you've lost.
And that, I mean, and then that goes to sports, and it goes to debate, or it goes to politics, or it goes to anything you're doing. You work.
No, I absolutely agree.
Education, your whatever. If you're working your ass off and you finish school with a 3.5 instead of a 3.8, you didn't lose.
Yeah.
You learned.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
You learned something. Winning is sort of this awkward artificial marker, and thing. It's a weird thing to look at. And you do need sort of the winner of everything to be there.
Yeah.
And if you don't win, well, you must have lost. Kind of, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
if you take the Super Bowl last year, right?
Okay, yeah.
The Eagles won, Patriots lost.
Mm-hmm.
If you made that game 90 seconds longer, the Patriots would have won. If you made it 180 seconds longer, the Eagles would have won. If you made it 240 seconds longer, the Patriots then would have. I mean, it's one of those
and it goes
things.
Back
it's
and
just
forth.
kind of like, in the allotted time in the deal, both teams played their ass off. A shitload of records were broke.
Yeah, exactly.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Some crazy obstacles were overcome on both sides.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was an extremely close, very competitive game. One of the top 2 or 3 Super Bowls I've ever watched.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Win or lose, sure, I would like the Patriots to have won.
Yeah.
I mean, I always liked.
Naturally,
I liked Nick Foles when he came into the league, so I was happy as shit for Nick Foles. So well, yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things. Like, it's just like, that was badass. Like, I loved that. Yes, I wanted the Patriots to win, but that was awesome.
And that's kind of the bit that I was getting onto with the gentleman I was sitting there. It's all for the fun of the sport.
Yeah.
And especially when and that's kind of the difference between the politics of things and then like the talking about sports is sports. You can be invested and you can love your team and you can do all of this, but in the end, just realize that it quite literally is just a game. Yeah. And so enjoy the sport, enjoy when they work hard, and if they don't work hard, if they're not at their 100% that day, then you can be upset with your team, right? But don't try to run off and justify whatever it is in your head that, we lost, so guys.
Yeah, you can't get that bad attitude.
And it goes on and on. But
so transition that into politics a little bit.
So
let me give you a precursor real quick. Party A, Party B. I don't care who you're going to call, right?
It doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant because there's neither side is really better or worse than other ones. They're different, but it's whatever. Okay. Same thing. If your party or your guy or your girl loses a race or an election, right? Learn.
Yeah.
Use the tools you have. If you don't like who was put in there, which is probably you didn't vote for them, so maybe you don't like them, or you don't agree with their policy, don't like, whatever it is. If you hate them or just simply disagree with them, who cares? Which you have a negative feeling towards the person that was victorious over your guy or girl.
Yeah.
Use the tools you have through your communication with appropriate communication with your representatives.
This is key,
with
guys.
your voting population around. Yeah. With social media, with these things, and challenge that leader, whoever, if it's a local seat or president or congressional seat, whatever, challenge that leader in an appropriate manner on their policy.
Yeah.
And give them, and people debate this all the time. I promise you, this is from firsthand experience. If a Republican congressional member in your district was the winner, they want to hear from the Democrats.
Yeah.
They want to hear the perspective of their constituents. They want to.
Okay.
They have people there to take that information in.
Yeah.
Because you know what? They want to get reelected.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more votes they have, the better chance they have to be reelected.
Yeah.
Therefore, they want to
works, yeah.
right. They want to hear your side, and they're going to. They're politicians. They're going to play that range, that fine line of how do they keep all the votes they had and gain just a few more to get them back in there, to do more in their direction. Like we said before, very few, if any, politicians ever have a desire to screw shit up intentionally.
That's fair, yes.
Do some of them make bad decisions? Yes. But nobody wants to go and be a politician to be known as the politician who fucked it all up.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
The Eagles are too big at that level to deal with that.
No.
Okay, so that's the other one. And then the third is, if in this appropriate thing, the more, anytime you have a disagreement with the leaders, again, local, congressional, federal, president, it doesn't matter, with the elected officials' policy or their decisions, the second you start name calling, you've alienated the ability for any change or any success or any proper communication or anything, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to tie in very surface the immigration deal. Okay?
Yeah.
Facts. This shit got stirred up the way it currently is. I mean, it's been a problem since Carter talked about immigration, and it goes further back. So, but all of the current situation got stirred up in 1997 with the whole Flores matter, right? And you can look that up and we'll go into it. And then, and the current law in quotations was written in about 2007. It was challenged and upheld in 2008 at the Ninth Circuit of Appeals Court. Okay, which is the most liberal court we have in our country.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It just, there's some extremely conservative courts and there's extremely liberal. That's, if not the second most liberal court in our land, is the Ninth Circuit of Appeals Court. Okay, they upheld it and they added language to the law that that only allowed children to be held for a certain period of time. And they couldn't. Adults went through I'm going to generally blanket statement this because I don't want to get into the super fine details. Adults 18 and over went a criminal path for coming here legally, and minors couldn't. They were turned over effectively to HHS.
Yeah. Okay.
And then everything was processed through, and then they did what they could to reunite the families, barring a whole set of circumstances, which, again, I'm avoiding those blanket statements. Just the deal. So that was 2008. Okay. President Bush had a zero tolerance policy. President Obama had a zero tolerance policy. And now President Trump, back in April, issued a zero tolerance policy through Sessions. All of those things are there. The fact that families were being separated, super shitty. Sucks beyond all belief. I understand why. Okay. I get the why. I'm not saying I agree with it. There's not. To understand doesn't mean agree.
Between being on the side of it and then being like, okay, I get it.
And so, in this is kind of what I'm trying to get at, and people will scream and yell at this all day long because they have been. The people, for less than a 2-week period, it was a massive uprising, right? And let's just call it 2 weeks. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, it began to be this big stir, a big public outcry, and shit hit the fan. News media, major media, small media, social media, all of that. This hit the fucking fan, right?
And it just poured out.
It was huge news. So about a week into it, the administration went to Congress and was like, we need you guys to fix this. Because it's a legislative fix. The permanent thing is a legislative fix.
Yes.
Not a judicial fix, not an executive fix. Okay. So that's kind of the deal, and I'm just going over this. And I just have to lay this out, otherwise people will get confused and then we'll be in trouble. So about a week into it, the administration went to Congress and was like, basically like, fix it. And Congress was basically like, no way. Okay, just not going to happen, right? So about a week later, again, all the hate, all the outcry, all the other stuff, President Trump signs an executive order yesterday fixing the situation. Now, the executive order might be an overreach. It might not. I've heard it both ways. It seems like, to me, a little bit of an overreach, but Needless to say, it's fixed for about 20 days. So Congress now has 20 days to offer up a permanent fix. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Now, this I don't know. I don't know if President Trump can write a new executive order every roughly 20 days and kind of continue this going. I don't know that. I don't know everything in government. I don't know if that's an option. I don't know what the deal is, but basically that's kind of where it is, right?
Yeah.
So in this debate, now President Bush W was only there for less than a year when all this shit went on. But even in that year, families were separated. Okay. During President Obama, during his 8 years, a lot of families were separated.
Yeah.
There were tons of marches against it. There were tons of protests against it. You can Google it. You can pull them all up. Families were being separated. People hated it. Okay. With President Trump, same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got President Bush, President Obama, and President Trump. The same thing's happening in all of them. Right? Families are being separated.
Okay.
So you get mad at the volume. People are upset about the volume. You hear that. But it's never been done at this level.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this because I like to defend the facts. The facts are, I don't remember exactly when, during President Obama's administration, the definitions of illegal, the definitions and such changed.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So President Obama had a record number of deportations.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But the definition of deportation and who was being deported changed. So the actual population really didn't change much. The definition changed, so it made it look larger.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So because definitions change, we don't really know unless you're going to sit and data crunch for a long fucking time on some variables that are unknown.
Yeah.
We don't know who did it worse.
Okay.
Right? We don't know. We know President Bush gets off the most because he was only there for several months when it all hit the fan, right? But still, in defense, it happened under him.
Yeah.
Families were separated. We know this, right? Because that's why they built ICE family housing or family units.
Yeah.
Because some of the shit was happening. So it was the whole deal. So now to circle all the way back to the front, and then I'll ask the question and then give you the floor for a little bit, is in this current debate, a lot of non-Trump supporters are spewing hate on how evil and how racist and how immoral and how disgusting and things Trump and Trump supporters are, because Trump is separating families. Trump's policy is separating families.
He personally is separating.
It's him, and it's his policy is causing the separation of the families.
I get it. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, and there, I mean, it's like, it's a lot of hate, dude. It's a lot. And you saw one.
Yeah.
I shared that one with you that was silly.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's the facts on it. And with no opinion of mine, no opinion of mine.
Yeah.
Just here's the bullet point facts on it. And I was racist, a bigot, uneducated, ignorant ass. And I mean, whatever, the list goes on and on, all the things that I was.
But nothing to retort the point.
Right. So with the facts in there, is it just like, what the fuck is it? Like, I'm trying to get a grasp on what it is. Is it a psychosis? Is it a people don't give a shit about what the facts are? Is it what the hell's going on?
To an extent, yeah. People. So, from my understanding, and especially when it comes to politics begins to play into kind of this. It's a lot deeper than sports in the sense that now we're questioning our morals.
Right.
And everybody's morals are different. I believe very, very different things than a lot of people. And I can't say that certain things are good and certain things are bad. And you'll find from not just person to person, or not, I guess, from person to person, from civilization to civilization, from community to community, your morals, your values, your whatever you find ethic is going to be different. And I think that's something that becomes very, very deeply rooted in kind of our belief system. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes time for people to question that, or to, I guess, to challenge it, you get really, really defensive, or very, very offensive, because that's a part of you.
Yeah.
So throw it out there. If your morals or if your values say that safe, I guess, whatever you want to call it, safe border or restricted immigration or what zero tolerance is higher than there's not really a good way to put it, higher than family separation. Because if you want safety for your family, but you also want safety for everybody, but this stands higher.
Yeah.
Then you're saying, okay, well then yes, it's one of those things that we can find a better way to do it, yes, but as of right now, this is what we have to do to ensure the safety of our country.
Yeah.
Flips. Some people don't care about the safety of the country as much, but other people do. Those same people might care about the safety of individual family units more. And it becomes this, okay, well, where are you at on this whole bit? And this is kind of where that separation becomes, and this is where you get, okay, then people jump to very extremes because it becomes a very deeper rooted problem for people, because then you have to question your morals. I do this constantly with my friends.
Yeah.
Where it becomes, well, that's wrong. Well, why is it wrong? Is anything really wrong or right? Do we have to go on and on about this whole psychology of things? And a lot of my friends like to call me a sociopath, because I really don't consider things right or wrong. I just have, well, this is just what happens, and you have to move on from it.
Well, a lot of it's being a realist.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, here's what's going on, and well, what's right in that situation may not be right for that situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it becomes, so I guess to this whole bit, the facts don't matter as much now. It's more about what's going on, and they want it to change, and they're not particularly worried about, oh, Obama did this or that, or oh, Trump did this or that.
Yeah.
It's just that this needs to be addressed and needs to move on. And you can say, well, this person isn't educated, or this person is stupid, or whatever it is. But
well, you hit a good point, right? And so I want to strike that, because you said that basically, I'll paraphrase all the stuff, is that we have a problem with something right now. Let's focus on fixing what this problem is right now, because we as a country have decided that we don't like this.
This is an issue. Yeah, right? I agree.
Because that, to say I get behind 100% would be an understatement.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. But I think everybody's at that agreement right now.
Yeah, and what happens is I'm gonna project that universally all moderately good people are gonna say that's bullshit to separate families in that manner for those reasons.
Yes.
Families.
Yes.
Actual families.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't want the right getting on me on this one either. Every relatively good person is gonna say that.
Yeah.
I think what happens is people start to attack.
Yeah.
Fuck Trump this. Trump's such an evil orange bastard, dumb shit, blah, 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 blah. He is separating his family. He is the problem. He is this. When the reality is this. People screamed.
Yeah.
And spoke. Screamed. People spoke out. He took that, went to Congress. Congress threw him the finger. People continued to scream. He took that and fixed it. At the greatest ability he as an individual could fix it.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks. In our federal government.
Which is unheard of as of right now.
That is, to say that's not even a blink, man.
Yeah.
That's like a tenth of a blink.
Yeah.
That in the matter of, take the whole time of 2 weeks or less, he fixed a major national concern.
Yeah.
Then you get the response of, oh, well, fine now, but what are we going to do about all the other kids that are already taken all the... I'm like, what do you want the man to do?
Well, okay, so that...
Does that make sense? So it's the attack.
Yeah.
That's not just the voice of concern. The voice of concern, I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, absolutely.
I mean, do more of that.
So that then is identifying with a party, same way you identify with a team.
Yeah.
Right? But I guess for this one, a lot of people, get more emotional about it because, when you stand with your party, you're standing with your belief system.
Yes.
You're standing with,
yes.
Not just like, oh, I love the Pats because I've lived there, I'm from there, they're just the best team on the planet, whatever. It's like, no, these are deeply rooted concerns of mine, and I have to address these. So I guess the reason that they're attacking is because now now that the footing's been made, they want to push farther.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing that we talked about with kneeling.
Yeah.
So you've hit this point now, and it's like, okay, it's got the attention, and now it's time to drive it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it continues on, but
because this is my thing is you do that great. I want people to speak more. I want people to communicate more. I want those things to happen.
Yeah, we need our
but
opinions.
And this is the deal. If you come in and you make a bold statement that this is effectively paraphrasing all these things, Trump is the evil one. It's all Trump's fault. It's got to get fixed. Well, you're immediately going to get people who are logical, center, not even support Trump, but center or support Trump to come out and say, okay, whoa, hold on. It's not this dude's fault. It is not this dude's fault. I agree with you. It's got to get fixed, but stop with the hate.
Yeah.
Because everything is about positioning themselves for power and political. So if you don't refute it, they're going to use it later to try to slam you.
Yeah.
And they'll use it later for political prowess. So that makes sense. So then people are like, yes, let's get it fixed, but stop with the blame because it's all of these people did this. Does that make sense?
That's not what we see though.
Right. Well, and people,
and that's the whole bit is so it's that then that becomes that's the uneducated part. So they don't have the full story, but they still have the opinion, they still have the morals, and so they're going to push one way. And maybe other people with not the full story, but they have their opinions and they have their morals, and they say, oh, okay, well, we're going to push this way. And then we have the guys in the center who have the opinions and their morals, and they say, okay, well, we can bring you guys together.
Yeah.
So we need those centerline guys to start speaking up. But to be honest with you, if I'm a centerline guy, I don't really give a shit about.
I mean, because I'm by definition, I'm a center guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a center guy. I would be pretty close to a traditional libertarian.
Yeah.
But based on all the things and how I live and my views and perspectives, and a few things are a little more conservative and a few things are a little more liberal, but generally speaking, I would be more of a traditional libertarian. So I'm middle.
To that, I think it's people start to lose sight of it. So like, okay, well, the problem's been adjusted now, but then, now that I've gained that footing, now it's time to, we'll move forward. So I've apparently asserted this form of power, right, by speaking my mind, and then this got adjusted. Well, let me move on. Now I either want to get rid of you so I can continue to speak my mind, or how do we fix this problem that's already happened? And it becomes very, very irrational to an extent. Just because that's kind of the way we are. That's the way we function.
What's wrong with this is a big question. What's wrong with being a non-Trump supporter? Because I don't want to say you're a Democrat supporter, you're a libertarian. So if you were a anti-Trumper, just to categorize it. I'm sorry that I have to say it that way, but if you're an anti-Trumper and you come out and you say, oh, well, it's all Trump's fault, it's all these things, we need it fixed, and then somebody comes at you with that whole series of facts, that it's a legislative deal and here's how long it's been going on. What's wrong with doing this? Well, no, what's wrong with saying, oh, crap, I didn't know that, but let's fix this. I'm still going to give Trump a shitload of pressure because he's the man now. Then you've got a team to go towards the solution you say you want. Unless the solution you want isn't correcting the family separation, the solution you want is damaging Trump.
Yeah.
So then they maybe aren't being honest in their debate. Yeah.
That's all that is. So when it comes down to this is the issue, this is whatever problem I have. I don't like the families being separated.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody does.
Right.
We can all agree with that. But here are the facts. This is all laid out for you. So it's not Trump's fault, right? But it is something that we can address. It takes swallowing your pride, and it takes, kind of stepping out of your ego to be able to say, oh, okay, you're right. You might be on the other side, of this debate.
Yeah.
But you're right. And so now together, and this is utopia to me.
What you're about to say is why America was developed.
Yeah. Now together, let's address this problem and get it fixed.
Right.
So I guess in that world that we can swallow our pride and we can, keep, you know, keep our honor at bay.
Yeah.
That's a world that it may not be perfect, but that's a world that I would love to live in. That's a world that's the ideal world for me because we can all come together and address problem by problem.
Yeah. And like I've said before, is it is extremely important to have the full spectrum of perspectives and input on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, a good line of conservatives, they say hard line conservative for a reason.
Yeah. That
term hard line is there for a reason. Then you go on the liberals and you say, you hear all the BS crap about liberals.
Yeah.
As far as their definitions on them and other, silly things and that, so free-nilly and all this other kind of business, right? Well, the combination of those two is what's going to create in quotations, the right thing, not the right party, but the correct path.
So that's the bit and I think that's why parties were originally created was because it's more efficient to have people speaking their minds.
Yes.
Right? Because you need the dreamer as much as you need the guy completely grounded.
Yeah.
Right? So he can pull that guy back and then the dreamer can pull him up.
Right. And you're going to get somewhere in the middle. And
exactly. And that's the best place to be is finding that middle ground in which we can all work together. But that takes humility. That takes swallowing your pride. That takes a lot that
a lot
people
of people
naturally
don't have.
Naturally. I don't want to be wrong. It's just the way I am.
Yeah.
Right. But through my experiences, I've come to accept the fact that, okay, yeah, I'm wrong. It's fine. And I move on from there. Right.
It is. You're going to be. It's impossible to be right your entire life.
Yeah.
Impossible.
You are wrong.
Right.
I just get it out of the way. And whatever it is
right. If you give me the most definitive factual statement, I'm going to be able to pick it apart at some level from some direction somewhere.
Exactly.
And still be right.
Exactly.
It's just
that falls into reality versus perception of reality. Right. And so because everybody has a specific perception on something. So it's like if I look at that little thing from my angle, I see it a certain way, and if you look at it from your angle, you see it a certain way. Right. And it completely varies depending on how you look at it, what your beliefs are.
I put my hand right there in front of it. Am I touching it or not touching it?
You built a wall. You're touching it.
You don't have a fucking clue. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
But if you stood here and looked at it, bird's eye, you're going to know exactly where I am, and you'll see that there's a gap and it's not being touched.
And that's the bit. Is so like if you look at it and say, okay, so this is the immigration problem.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm sitting here. Well, here, let's do it this way. So if I'm sitting here, you may not know that, it's open. The tip is open and it's being moved.
Right.
And I may not be able to explain that to you just because I see it. It seems so obvious to me.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other way around. I may not know that this thing is completely closed or open or whatever the case is. And so you're both looking at the same thing. You both have two very different opinions on it because, well, you just...
Two totally different perspectives.
Just don't know. Yeah. And so I think... It's really hard for people, and I've seen this forever, and I've done this. Really hard for people to admit when they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's something extremely destructive, is to say, "No, I'm sorry, you were right. I was wrong."
Yeah.
And just that simple sentence creates a lot of. It creates a lot of emotion. Even me saying it now, like I'm sitting here thinking, "Wow."
It does something internally, and saying it and typing is two totally different things, which is a whole other debate. But it gets in there, and I want to say this on the things with the immigration is that, again, universally, all in quotations, good and normal people don't want families to be separated.
Yeah.
Situations like that.
Yeah.
The reality is, I think everyone can agree that we cannot, as a country, take on everybody that wants to come into the U.S.
No, it's not physically possible.
It is a debatable subject. Absolutely, it is debatable. Generally speaking, that's just not likely going to cause success or improve the state of our nation, right?
Yeah.
And there's great sides and debates on all sides of this stuff, but generally speaking, that's the deal. Also, we have put together one of the greatest things this world's ever seen in modern history. I don't want to go and say in prehistory, we don't know. We don't have information. It could have been way better back then. Who knows, right? But in today's terms, for the size of country we have, for the landmass that we have, for the money we have, for the economy we have, for the diversity of people we have, we have put together the greatest experiment this world's ever seen, right?
Experiment is a good word
it's
to
what
use.
it is,
yeah.
because we're the only one.
Yeah.
So are there little pockets here and little pockets there of certain situations and certain variables that are better in other places?
Naturally.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Right? You know, but when you take it as a whole, that's the deal. So we are humane. We do a ton of humanitarian things.
Yeah.
We reach out all the time as individuals, as groups, as nations, and do a lot of help across the world. We do these things. We don't want families to be separated. We also don't want a bunch of people coming in illegally creating a situation.
Yeah.
And you hear the term asylum. I don't want to get into the debate. You can claim asylum in another country at the U.S. Embassy, and you're protected, and you'll be taken in, and you'll be processed through, and it takes a couple of months.
Yeah.
The fast track takes 2 to 3 months if you assert asylum, right? If you claim asylum. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Why are we overwhelmed? Because so many people are trying to come illegally.
Yeah.
Okay? To claim asylum doesn't, to my knowledge, doesn't cost you a penny. Okay? It doesn't cost you a penny. To my knowledge, there may be some filing fee here or there, but if you go to a U.S. Embassy or go to any port of entry and claim asylum, you're fine. With your family, they're not going to separate you. They're not doing these things. It's all, you're protected. You're all these things. But you can't just claim asylum because you want a better life.
Yeah.
There has to be a legitimate reason to claim asylum and be granted access to our country and potential citizenship based on that, which is why so many come illegally, is because it's not really about asylum.
Yeah.
Not all of them. Some are, some aren't.
Yeah, so and that's one of the things that you can debate, but for the most part, I would assume that's right, you know, because I'm going to say right now that no, not everybody that's coming in is coming in for the same reason that, oh, you know, I'd be approaching a better life, or I'm getting away from this horrible life.
Right.
Whatever it is. Some people are just coming in either just to come in or coming in to cause trouble.
Some, not a large population that are coming specifically to cause trouble, but there are some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's exactly right. And so it is some. And so, I mean, obviously it's one of the things is if you need true asylum, then yeah, let's see what we can do. If not, well, let's try to make the best life we can where you are. Right. But that's really hard to do.
That's kind of one of my things. As I said, we should use American influence and power to pressure those governments and to make the situations there better. Right? That's a hard task, but it's certainly a lot cheaper and easier than trying to do it on our soil and our country and trying to process all these people and to have these things happen.
Can't we just imperialize?
Well, some people say we are, but I don't know what the, you know.
Let's not get into that just now. You're going to take flack for this one anyway. Yeah. So.
Britain tried it. Mongols tried it. A lot have tried it, and they typically fail once
that's
they get to a certain,
that's fair.
cover a certain land mass. But I'm just saying, you know, a big problem comes south of our border, right?
Yeah.
So south of our border, we have the money and resources to create some change down there. I'm kind of hesitating on my words to make sure I say some of the right things. But
I was about to say
we can pressure that government. We can do some things to force some change down there. Absolutely, we have that power and that authority, right?
I would say we could, but so then this is going to be where we're going to need both sides' opinions.
Yes,
because I'm sure the hard right is going to say, oh well, we can do this and this and this and. Let's just send people down there. Hard left is going to say, okay, well, let's take a step back away from that.
Yeah.
Ideally, that would be the
it's some combination of the two.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We can do it. And you know what? If we have to dump a few $100 million south of the border every year, that's better than $600 million here.
Yeah.
And still having the problem down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make sense? And so it's, you know.
Which is true.
Try to create some things down there. Try to do some stuff, you know, and create, and that's a key word I want to say, create down there.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I know people are all pissed off about the trade shit right now. It doesn't mean lose, tens of thousands of jobs here to put a plant in Mexico to give them tens of thousands. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Create down there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Have some developments, have some things. All of this new technology that's coming out as far as cleaning, dealing with styrofoam and pulling shit out of the ocean, all that stuff. Let's create those jobs there. Let's just create them because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like there's no massive plants right now that exist. So let's put them down there. Let's create it in that country. So now you're going to help boost their economy, and then our pressure on them comes from helping control it and doing things and bettering the communities around it, the whole shebang, right?
Yeah.
So now we're going to create industry down there as opposed to just try to transfer stuff and shove it around and make one country suffer because another one isn't. And
exactly. And it goes on and on that way. Because a lot of people think, oh, we just have to take. And well, sometimes you can just give and give and give. Okay, well, that's...
You got to follow me?
Yeah.
I would rather do it that way.
I do like that idea.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So I guess, do we petition this? Do we grassroots it? Or
I will tell you this. I send a boatload of emails to my representatives all the time.
All right, guys, you got to get on your
and
game.
phone calls. Not a ton of phone calls. Some phone calls because it's really. I mean, it's better for them if it's something that they can get,
read,
put it, file it, read it, look at it. Because you get someone on the phone, they're gonna have to take notes and this, and it's just not. It's not as efficient. Not in today's time. But I'll still call occasionally, just to express a very simple point, a baseline point, a bullet point, and then they catalog that stuff and they count that. So every phone call is X number of constituents. Every letter is X number. Every email is X number. So they do track those things and keep. And catalog. Okay. So if you called, you would be effectively representing a couple thousand people in your area.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, use the powers we have, create a little bit of a change, at least the opportunity for change, because they're listening. They're listening. They want to win. They want to get reelected.
Yeah.
They want more. They don't want to be the asshole that fucked it all up.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Yeah.
All right, guys, are we listening in on that? Because sounds like we got to start making some changes.
You might have to go google.com. Who is my local representatives for Congress, for the House, for the Senate, for...
That's already too much work. Yeah, I don't know about this guy.
Okay, so don't do your next 3 hateful posts. Just go over to Google and use that energy to find your local rep.
Which is true.
Just saying.
So get the stick out of here. So get some work done.
Yeah.
All right, I like that.
Yeah, dude, that's good, man.
All right,
we went over a little bit, but we started a little bit late, so we're good, man. Thanks, it was fun. Did you learn something?
I did. I learned quite a bit today. I'm pretty happy about that.
Thinkity think.
Yeah, exactly. Who's that? I'm eating too many carbs for that.
Ah, damn it. You're going to blow up like a cow. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.